Hey, what's up? John Sonmez here from SimpleProgrammer.com. And I got a question about learning web and iOS development simultaneously. I know some people want to do two things at once. I'm not quite sure why, but no, I get it. It's fine here. So this is from Ray the Tech Dude. And he says, "Hi, I really love watching your YouTube videos. Thanks a lot. It has really helped me through my coding career." Cool, that's awesome. "I'm currently an intermediate web developer. Web development is a continuous learning process. I really love iOS development. I want to know if I could learn iOS development as well as becoming an advanced or professional web developer, and if I could balance the learning process. I'll be glad if you do a video on these." And yeah, okay. So there's a couple of things to consider here. Can you learn two things at once? Yes, you can, but always, and I've talked about this a lot, but I'll say it again because it's so important. Never ever learn something that you're not going to apply or utilize, okay? So you want to learn by doing as much as possible, and you've got to put those skills to use, especially in the field that we're in as software developers, in technology professionals. Technology is changing rapidly, right? It's not like something like physics where you could learn physics or mathematics and it doesn't change, right? As long as you've got it in your head, you can apply that knowledge later on, 30 years down the road. It's not going to change a lot. I mean, some stuff changes in physics and mathematics, but you learned your multiplication tables, okay, when you're a kid, hopefully you did, and you can still use them today as an adult. Nothing is going to change there, right? That's knowledge that's good to sink in your head. Some things are good for rote memorization. So the reason why I'm saying that is because if you learn iOS development, let's say that you learn iOS development, okay, but you're not actually going to use it. You just want to learn it just to know it, just so you can have iOS development experience. So you can get that tool in your tool belt, like so many developers do. And then you want to, 5 years from now, let's say you want to get a job as an iOS developer, but you're not really doing iOS development as your regular job, or maybe you're just trying to maintain the knowledge of it by reading up on it, but you're not actually doing it. The whole carpet's going to be pulled out from underneath you. It's all going to change, right? So you're going to have to relearn it all over again. So why go through that? Why do that, right? So make sure that, again, I have no problem with you learning iOS development if you're a web developer, but you got to figure out how you can use your web development and your iOS development at the same time, maybe even together. So here's an idea here. Again, this doesn't apply just to iOS and web development. This could be whatever you're trying to combine or you're trying to learn. What if you created an application that was an iOS application that also had a web component of it, okay, as a side project, okay, and maybe it communicated together, right? Or you had a web backend for it that had an API that application used. There's actually a lot of services for that, so maybe you don't want to reinvent the wheel there. But that's just a suppose. What if you did that, right? What if you worked your regular job as a web developer and increased your web development skills, but on the side you started building iOS applications? In fact, heck, that's what I did, right? I was working as a web developer. I was actually working as a web developer, and I was doing CF.NET. That's compact. The compact.NET framework, right? The ones that run on embedded systems. Okay, I was working on that code as well as doing web development, and then on the side at home I was working on Android development. I was learning Android, and I was building an Android application that I was actually putting in the store. But I was actually, and not only was I putting in the store, but I was building a running application, and I was using it when I was running. So I was trying to hit the multiple purposes there, and so I was keeping those skills up to date. I was actually utilizing those skills, and it worked. And eventually, I learned iOS development, and I eventually was doing a lot of mobile development because I transitioned into that. But what I didn't do was I didn't just pick up an Android book like a lot of people do and just read it and just learn it and do some exercises without any real purpose. Okay, I had a purpose. I was going to build an application. I was going to do something with that knowledge, not just acquiring knowledge for the sake of acquiring knowledge, if that makes sense to you. So figure out some way that you can use it, right? If you really want to be as successful as possible, though, I will tell you this, one last piece of advice here, is that split focus tends to slow you down. So if you want to become a really advanced web developer, if that's what you want to do, and you want to reach the highest levels, you might want to just focus on that, because the iOS stuff as though it's fun, it's going to distract you. It's going to keep you from that. And the same thing, maybe you said, no, I actually just want to become an iOS developer. I'm sick of web development and I just want to become an iOS developer. Well, then you might have to do some with your regular job on this and while you're developing your iOS development skills on the side. But as soon as you can, you want to get a job doing iOS development so you can do that full time and just focus on that thing. Again, I am not a person that takes my own advice in this regard. I do a lot of things, but I've often thought to myself, I've often counseled myself and said, John, if you would just focus on the one thing, you could be way more successful at that one thing. You know, some people can't do that, so I understand if you can't, but I have to throw that out there because honestly, I think that would get you the fastest, most success as possible if you can focus on that one thing. But if you can't, then make sure that at least if you're going to learn multiple things, make sure you're using them. This is so critical. Otherwise, you're just wasting your time. You're just getting, you know, a lot of people get a lot of Jeopardy knowledge, is what I call it, and it's no good because it's only useful on Jeopardy. So how many times are you going to be on Jeopardy in your life? So that's kind of the point. All right, if you like this video, I got a couple of requests for you. One of them is if you like this t-shirt and you want to trust the process, you want to know what that means and understand that, you can check out the playlist on trusting the process to understand that whole deal. But if you like the shirt, if you're like, this is just a cool shirt, John, oh, that's cool. All right, click the shirt, or click me, and you can get a copy of the shirt. And if you like this video, definitely click that subscribe button below. I'll talk to you next time. Take care.